on useful tip
you can
11,
censor
we were talking about questions. You know, there were different principles about questions, and we put all those principles together in these useful tips. We already went through, I think, 3 of the questions. These are, I see these questions as being like archaeological tools, where we're excavating the treasure from Prabhupada's purports. And these questions, after we've done an understanding, we can use these questions if and when we deem them necessary. We don't have to just use them for the sake of using them. If we think, you have to look at the questions and see which of these questions will be a useful tool for me to excavate the meaning better and get something useful for my life. So that's a little intuitive and maybe comes with practice, learning to use the questions correctly. But the first question is, do I understand all the word meanings? If not, use a dictionary. And there may be subtleties of meaning. Yeah? The literal meaning, or do I understand the structure of the sentence? The structure of the sentence may be good. These are the ones we already did last time. I'm doing a quick recap. The second kind of question is, do I have any confusion? I've understood the literal meaning, but do I have any doubts or confusions or misgivings? Something that I think, whoa, how can that be right? That doesn't sound right to me. I think Shamalangi gave a wonderful example. You know, black people are bad or something. It's like, whoa, that's pretty racist. I know some pretty nice black people. Why is Prabhupada saying that? You know, if you have some kind of moral misgiving, say it. That just doesn't sit morally right with me. What does Prabhupada mean? Or Prabhupada used to say something contradictory somewhere else. How do the 2 contradictions sit together? How can they both be true? So that's that kind of question. Doubts, confusions, misgivings. Then the third was an insight. And do any of you remember the example I gave you about insights? An insight is a very important lesson that can be applied from what we read and not directly stated. Do you remember the verse I gave you as an example? 8:16. Yes. And what was the insight?
The highest planet in the material world, down to the lowest.
All are places
of misery.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so that's an understanding. And what was the insight? What was the important lesson we could take from that?
The material world's a place of misery.
Well, the insight was, Lord Brahma has more opulence than anyone we know. He has more intelligence than anyone knows. He's more beauty, intelligent. Saraswati, his wife, is more beautiful than anyone else's wife. His house is bigger than anyone else's house, and he's got more followers than anyone else, but he still experiences misery. So someone's opulence, mature opulence, cannot protect them from misery. If their mature opulence can't protect them from misery, why should I envy it? Why should I covet? Oh, this man has more than me. You know, and whatever he has can't protect you from misery. Therefore, don't covet what cannot protect you. Don't covet what cannot make you happy. So that's an insight. It's not directly stated in that verse, but you can construe that as a lesson from the verse. Yes? Is that okay with anyone? And remember, we gave a caution about that question. If you're going to say an insight, you started off with the question, do I have any insight? Because your question alerts your discussion partner what you're going to do. You don't just start speaking. What's he talking? Is he commenting? What's he going on? Say, this is an insight. Do I have an insight? Yes. And your question alerts your discussion partner why you're saying anything else. Does that make sense? Does anyone want to reflect back or say that they're not understanding or say that they are understanding at this point? Then we're going to move on. Everyone okay? Are you sure? No one's thinking I'm not really understanding, but I don't want to say so. Everyone okay? Okay, so now we're going to go to the 4th type of question. Just remember we said 3rd question, insights used wisely. Don't drag out lessons just for the sake of it. Only important ones. So the 4th one, earlier we started from Sunil, so I'll start from this side. Ramananda, you want to read number 4, the next kind of question.
Next question is there anything we have discussed so far that I need to imbibe more deeply? By this stage in the discussion, you may have uncovered truths that you had never previously considered. As we tend to forget things very quickly, you may wish to ask this question to see if there is anything that you really want to remember. In the Discuss With Me section, I refer to questions of this nature as a 4th level response.
Yeah, I'm creating this technical vocabulary, but that's less relevant. Ramana, would you be kind enough to put that in your own words?
Yes. So I've understood that we tend to forget things almost immediately, and so there can be practical aspects that like take-home messages from things that are very personal to us, and so we should really try to kind of latch onto those and bring them to the forefront. So asking that question, is there anything I need to really consider more deeply, is a good way to start that.
Perfect, you understood perfectly. Does everyone feel comfortable with this? Sometimes in very technical sentences, we may spend more than one session on one sentence. It depends on the sentence. Sometimes we may cover 3-4 sentences in 1.5 hours. And sometimes we may spend 3-4 sessions on one sentence. It depends on the sentence. So as we're going through the sentence, we've done the understanding, we've clarified literal meaning, we've clarified our doubts, misgivings, we've got special insights. Some sentences, it's all happening, with some sentences. And the 2-3 sessions on, we're finishing that sentence, and we think, hang on, is there anything from this sentence that we've already covered that I just want to make sure I remember? Because it's going to go in one ear and out the other. I just want to touch on that point again, just make sure I keep that. So that's the question. Is there anything I really want to remember from this sentence? And again, it's not the question you would ask for every sentence. Use it wisely. Otherwise, you're going to bog down your discussions. You want to create the kind of dynamic where you are going deep, you're not going so deep that you don't move forward. So you want to keep it moving, but use the questions wisely, intuitively, to make sure you're catching the jewels as you go along. You're catching the gold nuggets as you go along. Does everyone feel comfortable with this? If you're not, please do say so. So then we'll go to the 5th and final question. Okay,
So what? This question comes out of Principle 13. It is shorthand for how can anything that we have understood make any difference to me in how I think, see, feel, speak, or act. When appropriate, you can divide the reply into 2 parts, the ideal application and your personal realistic application. In the discuss with me section, I refer to questions of this nature as a 5th level response.
yeah, that's just me being
Yes.
technical. But can you reflect back what the question's all about? What is the question we asked as a 5th level?
How can this make a difference to me?
Yes.
If somebody's given as an example how it's being done, or you could also reflect on, or someone could explain how they've experienced it, maybe, so you could understand it better for their own realization, or for you could understand it better when you connect it with something in common that's happened to you, in your way of doing something in life, your application. So it's talking about how to apply it, and you could probably try and apply it or use it in a way I get more up. So
I think you're trying to unpack the 2 parts, ideal and realistic. Is that what
yeah.
So the ideal and realistic is what I meant. For example, let's say we read something about the importance of fasting on Ekadashi. And we've discussed this, the importance of fasting on Ekadashi. So ideal response. I should do Nirjala Ekadashi, every single Ekadashi, and I should stay up all night doing bhajan. That's the ideal application. And then the realistic, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. No way. What can I do? Can I do Nirjala fast? I can't stay up all night, that's for sure. No way. Nirjala fast for me is not, maybe for you, but not for me. So what can I do? Okay, I can try fasting to 12 noon. Is that realistic for me? For me, no. So maybe for you, but I have to find something which is, what can I do? Okay, I can fast from grains and that's as much as I can manage. So we talk about how any principle, how can I ideally apply it? And if the ideal is like way over our heads, we think, okay, what realistic steps can I take in the right direction that I can actually manage? So what am I going to do? How am I going to apply this?
So you're saying that you gave the example of doing a new gel Akadashi, and the highest point of that would be fasting all the way through, and all the bhajan through the evenings until the next morning. But realistically, you wouldn't be able to do that. So you're finding your point of what you could realistically do, which would back to a normal point of not being able, just fasting from grains.
Yes,
And
but I commit to that.
but you
In the so what, I commit to that. I commit, I will do that.
Yeah. So you're
And
making a commitment.
I make a commitment. I mean, Nilja, most of us have made that commitment. Old devotees have made commitment to any kind of fast and Kadashi. But there may be things that you've not already committed to. You think, no, I'm committed to this. And I'm going to commit to something which is realistic for me. So you begin to go in the right direction.
So,
Are you okay with that? Do you want to say, do you want to reflect it back more?
yes, so you're saying after all this, once you're fasting, the best you can do, or I can do, is to fast from grains that day, but I make that solid commitment,
Yes.
and that's my commitment.
Yes.
I started talking, I just forgot what the rest of it.
The rest of it was, it may be any point, it may not be Kadashi, whatever you've read, you're going to say, how is this lesson, how can it help me? Maybe I'll be less envious. Maybe we'll talk about, remember at age 16, not being envious of people. Maybe I've been really envious towards this one devotee because he's got a bigger car, and I'm going to make a commitment, I'm going to stop vibing him out because, you know, the fact he's got a bigger car. Whatever lesson it is that we've been reading, we're going to find some way we can apply it in our lives. Some realistic way that it can begin to change the way I think, the way I speak, the way I behave, something which is realistic. Yeah?
Yes.
So it depends on what we're reading. Will depend what we're going to commit to. Does everyone feel comfortable with that? So would you feel you were comfortable now that do you feel you've understood it?
Can I just say how, I just want to say what I think. Is that,
Yes, please do.
It's just, so through knowledge, and then to get, so it's through, I just got to a point, I'm finding it hard to connect with the Kadashi, that's the analogy, and,
Yes.
sorry, but through knowledge of that, you can make that commitment,
Yes.
and that will purify everything. I was just thinking about the man with the car, because I went back to the point where the Satan's got a better car and all this, but you gave the knowledge on the highest point. You know, even Lord Brahman has got everything, everything, you know, everything's good, but he still knows death is up on him, and he's not happy, you know, he needs to go towards Krishna, so through knowledge.
And then how would I apply that? I've been vibing out someone who's got more than me. I think, okay, yeah, no need to keep vibing out this person. I'm going to just be nice to this person. That would be my personal application. That's an example. I'm giving you just examples.
Yes, first of all, you won't want to upset them, or you let them know that you've got something there, you need to work on that.
Yes.
That attitude, first of all, deal with that.
Yes. So in that discussion, the so what is when we use what we've read and we begin to look at my life, or our lives, and think, what I read, where in my life, and how in my life can that realistically help me? That's the key point.
I mean, I've understood, like, you know, Prabhupada's example is there, and I'm here. So, you know, I can't go from there to there. Like he says, one must give 50% of his income to Krishna consciousness, you know, and everyone should do that, a householder, that's his. And you think, okay, if I give 50% of my income, I'm going to starve. So how am I going to manage that, you know? So that's at least something I can do, you know, so I can take a step, and I can gradually work towards that, that ideal, because no one's expecting us to be ideal overnight. certainly not Srila Prabhupada.
And I may not be ideal in this life at all, but how can I drag myself in that direction?
Procreation once a month for the purpose of having children. There's so many things that are challenging, and we've got to see, what we can actually do.
Krishna, Chintanami, sorry everyone, I don't want to stop anyone from the going further. I'm just a little bit like lost in the first and fourth, like 1, 2, 3, 4 questions. I just now fifth I understand very well. I didn't like really connect much to the 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you can't just in a few words like saying about 1, 2, 3, 4, then for me it's become like more deeper sense. Sorry, I don't want to stop anyone.
What are the 4 levels of response?
Yeah, there's just because I just a little bit like I think that I'm connected, but at the same time I'm not.
The first one is the actual literal meaning of the sentence.
Okay.
Did it make sense? Sometimes the sentences are challenging and they don't seem to make sense, grammatical sense.
Or you don't know the word meanings.
We may not know what.
What does that mean? Or the sentence is written. Some part the sentences are like 5 lines long, with like 5 subclauses. I don't understand. You just don't understand the literal meaning of the
So
sentence.
unpack it.
Oh, okay.
So what does that mean?
Then, once you've got that may take a little while, the actual meaning, then you may be challenged by what you've understood. Like you gave the example, black men are thieves. It's like, wait a minute, I'm a black man, I'm not a thief, what's going on, So, you're challenged by it.
Women like to be raped.
Yeah.
Women are pretty challenged by that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
What's going on?
so you've got to really get to understanding, discussing it with your partner and, try and get past those doubts and confusions. Insights means, does this give me any realizations, any, of my own important thoughts that come as a result of what I've understood? Everything's connected to the understanding. First get the understanding and everything comes out of that. It's not, we don't just go off on one, leaving aside what Prabhupada's saying. That's why we start with that. Ground it in the understanding. Does it make sense? Am I challenged by it? Does it awaken any insights in me? Like that, is there anything I need to understand more deeply? It may, I may have, up until this point, believed a certain thing and suddenly it's changed because of what I've understood. Wow, I'm having to, make a shift here, so I need to imbibe that more deeply.
Go over it.
Internalize it.
Yeah.
You may want to go over a specific point a few times because it's just like so. We don't do that every single discussion.
No.
But occasionally you need to do that because occasionally it's like, whoa.
All these responses don't come up every time. Maybe just one. Sometimes none. You just move on. And the last thing is so what? So does it have any application? Why is Prabhupada saying this? What does he want me to do? How can I transform? Because the whole idea is to transform as we study Prabhupada's books. So, what personal application does it have for me? So those are the 5.
Yeah, it's just quickly reflection on that. It's just a few words. It's basically first how I really understand the sentence. If it's specifically focusing, maybe I didn't understand the word of meaning of that, and then I'm working accordingly. The another word is just about doubts and clarification, which is actually then can be example of the black man and thief. But these are 2 different things, yeah. And etc. To just like make sure to see that picture. The third point is about the insight. It's just like what I feel and experience is just like really, or I'm really connecting to it. That this actually is making to me sense. Yeah?
Insights and lessons you're taking from it.
Lessons.
Yeah, lessons you're taking from it. Like, don't be envious of others,
It's like application.
Yeah, most devotees give class, but they just say their insights. They just talk about the lessons they take from it. So this is where you get to talk about your realizations, your insights. But after, so that's that part when you talk about your realizations, your lessons.
About just like about insight, about my realization.
Yes,
That is
your
just
realizations. Yes.
And then fourth is just about really go deeply to the sentence, really deeply to understand the meaning of that, and then
Fourth is, you've already done all that. Fourth is just if there's something you want to remember.
remember.
You want to remember that. Well, the way we write it maybe confuses why we want you to go over it. Is there anything I need to indict more deeply, just in the sense that you want to remember it? You want to, because you may recover things. Again, you're not going to use it every time. Rarely you'll use it. But there may be times when you're like, oh, as my husband said, we really had a shift in your paradigm. You've never thought that before. You think, I need to remember that, and I know I'm going to forget it. So I want to just remember this point. I want to talk about this point a little bit more so I don't forget it.
Yeah. It's just about basically deeply. I mean, this is about what I want to really remember from that.
Yes.
Yeah. And fifth, this is about how I feel, how I'm seeing, and then we already discussed, for example, the Kadashi, how to just see realistic and accordingly my way. Yeah. Did understand all now. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry for waiting.
No, it's good that you assimilate it.
Some of these are not so wrong.
Some of them are not so hard.
Yeah, 12 useful tip. Where are we up to?
Yeah. 12 is.
No, reading.
Every time your discussion partner tries to understand you, always thank them. It is the hardest part of the discussion to understand someone else and to put aside what we want to say. So please encourage them by thanking them enthusiastically.
When I do the coaching, I like to push people in couples. I mean, whether it's a husband and wife or friend and friend. This is one I try to catch a lot. You know, don't forget to thank your partner, and not just verbally thanks, but really show them with your body language, with your voice. Thank you so much. You took me so well. Or just encourage them, because the person who does the listening and the understanding is doing the hardest work. And we're very quick to show people displeasure when they do something that we don't like. We're very quick to ice them out, to blank them out. But we have to learn to reverse that in discussion. We're very quick to show people gratitude and walk, and not so quick to ice people out. That one we focus on a lot.
13.
Why do you ice people out? What would be the reason of icing someone out?
Well, somebody they say something we don't like, or we're in a bad mood, or we're hormonal, or something, and then we can't like the I mean, I have to catch myself on this all the time, It's a good thing I teach it, because the person I'm talking to most myself is remember to thank your husband, remember to thank your husband. Thank you, Sonia, for understanding, because it's so easy, we become very familiar with each other. Maybe less as friends, because we know we can lose our friends, but our poor partner, I think they're stuck with us. And so we become very familiar with each other. We really have to learn to change that.
Just get a grunt or something.
Yeah. No.
Did I understand you? Yes.
I thought that
I'm happy with that.
So is it suitable?
Yeah,
Number 13.
Wow, so much. If you don't have more to say when you are asked, make sure you tell them why you are saying more. If you don't tell them why you are saying more, they may think it's because they didn't understand you properly, so you are correcting them. After a while, they will feel discouraged and demotivated. The following are reasons why you may want to say more. First, it may be that they didn't fully understand you and you want to correct their understanding. Make sure that you explain this very positively and appreciatively. Our standard line if our discussion partner didn't understand us at all is: thank you for trying to understand me. I don't think expressed myself clearly. Let me try again.
Yeah, rather than saying thank you for trying to understand me, you didn't understand me correctly. Let me explain again. You say thank you for trying to understand me, and again remember tone of voice. Thank you for trying to understand me, but you didn't understand me correctly. Let me try again. That's really discouraging. Thank you for trying to understand me. I don't think I expressed myself clearly. Let me try again. So the onus isn't on you got it wrong. The onus is I'm trying to express myself and I probably didn't express myself properly. So it's always being positive to that special partner. Always being warm with them and encouraging and not making them feel you didn't get it right. Understood you perfectly, and when they do understand you perfectly, you'll find you've got psychological edge. Your mind's going to start, whoa, yes, I've got more to say. I don't think you've experienced that even in this session. Have you experienced that in this session? So you're going to want to say more. If you just start saying more, they're going to think, he's correcting what I, or she's correcting what I already said. I'm not getting it right. And they keep saying, would you like to say more? And you're getting more excited. And they're going to keep thinking, I'm failing. So you need to tell them that. You need to tell them, thank you, you understood me so well that it's making me think about other things. That's why I'm saying more. Not because you didn't understand me, but because you understood me so well, it's making me have more thoughts and that perception. Make sure you let them know that. Otherwise it can be very demotivating if you just understand and getting this wrong. And like how hard I try.
By speaking in this positive, encouraging way with each other, we emotionally and intellectually empower each other. Third, if they understood you perfectly, but you want to say more because you want to add something, you let them know that our standard line is, thank you, you understood me perfectly, because you understood me so well. Some other thoughts have come to me that I would like to share.
So that's what I was just commenting on actually. The second one is they mostly understood you, but a little bit not. So again, don't say, you understood me really, but that bit you didn't understand. Just say, I just want to clarify one point. Never point to their failure. Never use the language of they failed. Just say, you understood me really well, I just want to clarify one point. They didn't understand you at all. They say, yes, thank you so much for trying to understand me. I think I'm expressing myself so clearly. Let me try again. So always use a language that doesn't make them feel that pain. How do you feel about that?
It has to be practiced until it becomes habitual, because it's very difficult initially. And you're not always in the mood, you know, you're not feeling bright and bubbly and like, you know, well, thank you very much, you know, you've had a tough day. So it really does take an effort to practice this, and, you know, but when you keep doing it, it gradually becomes like second nature, you know.
And can I just say something, especially between husband and wife, because today's session is Grihastha Ashram. If the discussion starts going difficult because you fail to follow some of these positive emotional habits that create a warm emotional habit, you will inevitably close down your partner, one or the other of you. Have you ever experienced that? You start emotionally closing down? Don't keep with the philosophy. You may have to pause and just say, I think I've done something wrong. We'll talk about it. If you see your special partner closing down, and I would really recommend to husbands, take the role in that. If you feel that you've been tired and you've not been warm, and your poor wife, she's meant to be following you, she's closing down, take the lead and say, have I done something wrong? And talk about the emotions first. Calm the emotions down first. Create a warm, emotional, what do you call it? Environment. And then the philosophy, ambience, yes, environment. And then the philosophy will come very easily. But the philosophy will, you can't actually think when you're feeling, your heart is like shutting down. So husbands, please take that initiative. If you think your wife is just beginning to close down and give up, take the moment to say, I'm sorry, I've done something wrong. Can we start again? That was a really good understanding. You know, just try to go back and start again.
It takes mental energy as well, so you make sure you're rested. Like sometimes we attempt to do a discussion and we realize we just haven't got the mental oomph to you have to take like a 20-minute nap or something, you know.
Or be
before-
honest and say, I'm really struggling, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're right. Sorry, interrupt.
No, it's fine, go ahead, yeah.
No, you finish. I just interrupted.
No, I mean, it should be the same point that, you know, you have to have the, you know, the mental acuity to do it, otherwise, that means the sharpness of mind. Otherwise, you can't, you know, you're just going to be struggling and, you know, not hearing properly and zoning out, and it'll make it a horrible experience for the other person. So, just, yeah, you're saying just be honest.
Be honest.
Just
Because, and that's something that happens with us a lot. My poor husband works and I'm at home. But the worst thing is he doesn't tell me what's going on. Then I misread the whole dynamic. I'm thinking I'm just boring him still. I just don't want to talk, you know. But if he says to me, no, what you're saying is fine. It's just, I'm really struggling. I'm so tired, or I had a really bad day. Just be honest, because that clears the emotional dross. Just be honest.
Number 14. We are, are you?
So when you're understanding your discussion partner, make sure you stick closely to the point they are trying to make. Don't use this as an opportunity to sneak in your own point. If you do, you will simply confuse their thinking. You also don't do yourself any favors because your point will not be understood. Wait until it's your turn to be understood to add your own thoughts, because then the focus of the discussion will be on understanding you.
Can you put that in your own words?
So understand is that when you're trying to understand the other partner, it's saying that it's very easy sometimes to add something from your own understanding too. So it's saying that just be very strict with yourself not to add anything from your own understanding, just clearly only stick to their point.
Yeah, because, you know, they may give an understanding that you think, that's not right, you know, and then you're burning to say what you understand. And then when you reflect back what they're saying, you mix in, you know, what's going on in your head in terms of your own. So you've got to practice bracketing. Okay, you know, you've got to put that over there, and just really concentrate on what they've said. It takes a kind of discipline and practice, and then just reflect back on purely what they've said. Because you'll get your chance. Because this point is that you've mixed in what you understood, but the other person it's their turn to be understood, so they're not going to reflect back what you said.
What you said will be lost, and it'll confuse their mind.
Yeah, just creates confusion. Any points on that?
This happens, for me this happens all the time. I do it, everyone does it to me. Not everyone, but it's just such a common thing. And I've noticed, I think it's because like, I've got a friend, and it's almost he wants to think better of me than, it's amazing, he wants to think better of me than I think of myself. So when I'm actually being honest sometimes, he repeats it back, he's very good at this. But he kind of pumps me up, you know, he's like, so I understand this, but he's putting in his own aspect of what he thinks about me. And although it makes me feel like, that's nice.
But you weren't heard.
Yeah, it's interesting, yeah. I just realised as you were saying that.
Yeah. Takes a little practice and training, really.
It's not really the coaching.
Yeah.
When we're coaching you, we're not going to. You may be making like 6 of the mistakes, or 10 of the mistakes, or 3 of the mistakes. Obviously, we're not going to catch it every single one because we'll discourage you. So we're going to start with the ones that we think are the most, and try to get you doing the easiest to change. Try to get you to change those, and over time, keep coaching you, coming back to you from time to time, and gradually helping you change all of them. But the more you change these, the more fruitful you'll find your discussions.
What I find the challenge is that it's kind of simultaneous. I have to do 2 things, like think of my understanding of the sentence, and also, think what the other person is actually saying. sometimes it gets, it merges into one, and I do that. I do that sometimes.
Yeah.
So how to separate the two? That I find a bit of a challenge.
Yeah. So you're saying this is challenging because you've read the sentence and you've got an understanding which you want to express, and so you want to keep that in your head, but it's your turn to understand your partner. So they're saying what they've understood, you have to understand them. It's difficult to separate the two and, put aside what you understand. So how to do that?
Thank you for understanding.
Would you like to say more? Or do you have a light when you're
Just think like when I'm in a process, of making the final picture in my head, and I'm also kind of trying to concentrate on what the other person is saying. I haven't finalized the picture in my head, so it's like two simultaneous. Perhaps if I already
trying
had
to make sense of that sentence in your own head, and at the same time trying to listen to another person trying to make sense of it. So do you focus on your own attempt to make sense of that sentence, or on that person's attempt? And then you're going to say more. Would you like to say more?
Thank you. You both of you understood me. Thank you.
I mean,
She has a light.
yeah, I mean, how do you deal with that? What is your
How would you suggest you do that?
Perhaps I have to put aside my understanding of Siddhi in a cupboard for a telescope, or let it wait for its turn. And concentrate on my understanding later, and just focus on the person, fully be present for the person, hear the person who is giving the understanding.
So like create a mental cupboard and put it in there for the time being. Car parks or something.
Yes.
Use that. And then concentrate on what the other person's saying. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
You see, try not to multitask. It's your turn to understand, just focus on that task. And then do the other bit of trying to make sense of it when it's your turn.
Thank you very much.
Just a little patience, friend, because you will get your turn. So, and you can take your time when it's your turn. You can then go back to the sentence and read it and, say, okay, this is what I understand. So there's no panic. But I think with practice it comes. You gradually get better at it.
Thank you. So you're saying that it's basically impatience on my side that's causing perhaps little unclarity,
Confusion.
And by practice I will get it right, hopefully one day.
Can I also say something?
Sure.
I think as maybe patience, it may not be. I think also that we don't get a chance to speak, and as women, we often don't get a chance to speak and be heard. So we're trying to be heard. We're trying to get our bit in, But we'll see as we go through these concepts about interaction. So you know that if today is your husband's turn to be understood first, tomorrow it will be your turn to be understood first. You will get your turn. You will get your focused attention. So we don't have to fight for it. We don't have to kind of like sneak it in, because as part of our discussion protocol, we will be given the spotlight sometimes and allowed to be the one who's focused on it. So we don't have to kind of like try and snatch it. When we begin to become confident, I will get my turn. And my turn will come equally and fairly. I will have equal opportunity and fair opportunity at speaking. And then I feel less anxious about having that opportunity.
I don't think, just on that point, I know you want to understand it, but we alternate who leads the session.
And it's going to come up.
Yeah.
Yes, that will come up as a useful tool.
It's just like only one part to say. It's interesting when you're discussing every single day the scriptures, what's happening when even you finish to discuss the scriptures and you're speaking with that person, but you're speaking in the mood as you're studying the scriptures. And then interesting that even you're not speaking about Krishna, you're speaking about your personal life, but this is being widely understood you in that way as you discuss scriptures.
Yes.
And then everything is absolutely changing.
Yes, absolutely.
The sentiment.
So you're saying that the protocols that you use in discussing Shastra reflect into your everyday dealings, that you end up, always dealing with people in this kind of way, understanding them and, doing them.
Yeah, I give example only with those who study the scriptures, but with others it's just maybe, I think, by the study required a little bit longer time until come to that point, until they become like natural as part of you.
Did he
So you have
understand you perfectly, or and you're adding more? Or did he not understand you fully and you're just clarifying the point? Because he understood you, so
Sorry,
you're
it's more
saying,
of passion.
so let him know whether you're correct completely, he didn't understand you, or he understood you and you're adding, or you're clarifying. So I'm just getting you to practice, giving him the right emotional message, otherwise he's not sure whether he's understood it or not.
Thank you so much, you understood me very well.
And you're adding more.
Adding a little
Okay,
bit more.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is basically the adding that I think with other people is required a little bit time until this become part of you and natural habit.
Yes. You say with your discussion partner,
Yeah.
it very easily happens, but to be able to do it with other people, it'll take time for you to imbibe the habit so well that you can do it with people outside of your discussion partner. Did I say correctly, or did you mean something else? If you want to clarify.
Thank you so much, you understand me very well.
Thank you, wow, there you see.
So, anything else on this point?
One of the reasons, Brenda Kishore and I saw you, I just want to say something on Arta's point, that it does transfer to other things. And you'll find that you have less arguments. Because as soon as there's misunderstanding, and in married life especially, because today's focus was married life. And I think there are a few greenhouses here, and some of you may not, may become. So, in married life, it's, what was I saying? Yeah, obviously, we're people. We're going to have bad days and good days, and sometimes misunderstandings will happen. We'll read something which the other person didn't intend, or they may have intended it, and disagreements arise. And those can very easily accelerate into full-blown arguments. But if you use this technique, and now as soon as a slight misunderstanding occurs between us, we immediately switch into this gear. This reminds me, he's reflecting back, or I'm reflecting back to him, whichever way it is that it's starting. And within like half an hour, it's dissipated, it's finished. And you can ask my children. You can ask any, Madhva, Radhika, Janaki. But before we started this process, we would have arguments, big arguments. But since we, especially over the years as we're doing it more and more, you ask them how often we argue. You don't. We have misunderstandings. Immediately we switch into this. And within half an hour, there's an understanding and it's finished. So really recommend it. But it takes two to tango. And that's why I'm so happy there's husbands here. The wife can't help the situation. If the husband's not interested, and many wives are not fortunate enough to have husbands who are interested, then she should do it with other ladies, and Kṛṣṇa will help. Kṛṣṇa will begin. But if the husband is interested, it can make radical changes in the marriage. If both can tango, if both participate, it will make quick and radical changes.
Yeah. Tiffany, you? Yeah.
Allocate a certain amount of time to your discussion and make sure you stop on time. We allocate half an hour every morning and evening. We stop one time, even if we haven't finished discussing the sentence we are on. We stop on time. Yeah. By stopping the discussion on time, you will find it easier to regularly discuss because you will feel confident that it will not take long. This useful tip evolved from Principle 3. It's good to have a fixed time during the day, morning and evening time, So your mind is clear that this is when we are going to sit and discuss. You cancel everything else. And then it's good also to finish on time, because then the mind is peaceful and it's not saying, oh, when is it going to finish? Looking at your watch and like that. So it gives you some kind of peace of mind.
How many of you have done discussions? I know there are people here who do discussions. I know you do like that in chanting. So amongst those of you who do discussions, go here around London, how many of you found discussion really enjoyable and when you're in it, there's more you want to say and you want to carry on? Has that happened to anyone?
Yeah.
And if you allow it, will it sometimes go on for an hour?
Yeah.
Anyone? If you allow it, would it go on for 2 hours? Yeah. That's the problem, you see. Because on that moment, you're really enjoying it. But if you want to do it regularly, the next day or the next time you allocate it, you can think, last discussion went on for 2 hours. There's no way I've got 2 hours today. You can't do it. That's why it's very important. It doesn't matter how much you're enjoying it, stop. Your half hour is finished, stop. Because if you carry on, you're enjoying yourself today, but next week or whatever next year, you think, I don't have an hour, 2 hours. You can't do it. But if you know, it's only half an hour, you'll be much more likely to keep it up on a regular basis. And much better to have many drops of regular water dropping than one big gush to nothing for ages.
You can allocate more time if you want. So.
Yeah, if you can allocate an hour, but you know you're comfortable with an hour, allocate an hour. Just allocate the amount of time you know you're going to be comfortable with doing it regularly.
Because we have had some.
Yeah, on the weekends, we do allocate longer. But we're comfortable with that. We know on the weekend we're comfortable with that.
What about just to begin with, if you can't quite do 30, can you do 20?
Whatever you're comfortable
Yeah.
with.
Sure.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
I
In
mean-
like an ego.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, it's like we just have to just touch base with it and just do one
Yeah, you're
sentence.
going to touch base.
15 minutes or something because we're both so tired.
Or we've got something else, we've got other things happening on our, we're coming here. This puts pressure on our weekend time. Not that it's bad pressure, we love doing this. But it's like our personal discussion was just like touch base. We've got to touch base. It's like 15 minutes, but we touch base. We just touch base. If we weren't doing anything with other people, we're going to spend an hour doing it together. So, yeah, just
Got a
whatever.
little flexibility.
Little flexible. But make sure you don't overstep the amount of time you're comfortable with to do it again and again. I keep looking over this direction because this is where the householders are. But are you also okay with this, yeah?
Which one are we on now?
16.
16. And
Janty?
sure.
Me? Okay. 16. Start your discussion with a recap. A recap is a really good way of maintaining continuity. It helps you to link today's discussion with yesterday's. Do not want to spend long doing your recap. 1 minute at most. You don't need to recap the whole discussion. Just remind yourself that the last point you were discussing the previous day. For example, if you ended on a response, remind yourself what the question was and if there were any lights. When we start a new verse or chapter, we do a slightly longer recap, maybe 2-3 minutes. In these recaps, we give an overview of what's being discussed in the Gita up to this point. This is a really good way of keeping the bigger picture in mind and keeping a sense of flow of what is being said. Yeah, so the recap should be short and sweet. So it shouldn't be taking much, especially if you have half an hour. It shouldn't take you half the discussion recapping what you have said. So the point I understand is that you just remind yourself where you end up, question or response, or where you end up last time, not the whole thing. And only if you start new words, then you can do a little longer, just to briefly brief to the verses. So how you get to that verse.
Is everyone comfortable with this? That's perfect. Yeah. So if all you did yesterday was an understanding, you say, I just did my understanding, or we both did an understanding, but we didn't do a response. If you did a response, you can say, oh, we ended on this response, this was the question. If you gave your light, I didn't give my light yet. It's just reminding you where you left off, especially if you're doing it every day. Okay, that doesn't, just to remind you, where did I leave off? Did you want to say something?
So I just wanted to. So recap is just to even within that minute you'll go through just over what you can, but you're just trying to catch the trail of where you left off and the train of thank you.
Up to speed, you know. Yeah, just the last points that were made, you know.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. 17.
Are you ready? Do you want to read? Okay.
Have a facilitator. The facilitator keeps the discussion moving. If there are only two of you, the facilitator doesn't have much to do. But if there are more than two, then the facilitator makes sure everyone gets a chance to participate and that you are keeping to your agreed discussion protocols. The facilitator's role is very much like that of a conductor of an orchestra.
Do you want to say what you want to say?
So, if there's two people, you don't really require a facilitator. But
You do.
Oh, you do? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
It doesn't have a lot to do.
Okay, right. Yeah, but if there's more people, then it becomes someone. Then you see someone managing the discussion.
But even if two,
Right.
the facilitator is like, right now, we just read it and you may forget to carry on. So, would you like to understand? Okay, do you have a response?
Yes.
The facilitator's job is to make sure the discussion keeps moving
Yes.
and no one's spacing out. Even if there's two, you may need that. If
That's
there's
true.
yeah.
So the way I explain it then is that someone can take responsibility for making sure we stay on track according to these wonderful tips that you've given us, all the nectar from the last 3 sessions, today's the 4th, so that it's purposeful and especially as the groups get larger, the facilitator is very helpful.
Thank you so much, you're so perfectly. Is everyone okay with this? Okay, so we're almost at the end. We've only got 2 more protocols to go.
Keep the discussion very interactive and participative. Make sure everyone gets equal turns at leading the Jayarag and Madhava prayers, leading the Sanskrit verse, leading the translation, reading the purport, doing the recap, starting the discussion. At home we alternate days at being the facilitator. We've agreed the facilitator also leads the prayers, but the other participants could read the purport, do the recap and start the discussion. Okay, so I understand that you've got a whole system arranged between you as to how, and you recommend that do that, as to how to break down all the little tasks and alternate them so that everyone's getting there to participate, practice.
Yes, very important not to forget. We've tried to model that in this. I don't know if you noticed, but in the very first one, I think I started it, and then my husband did it at the same time. And the second one, he started it, and then I took over. And in each one, we tried to make sure a different person starts it, a different person introduces the seminar, and a different person starts it. And we've also tried to keep all of you involved, reading the verses out, reading the quotes out. It's really important. We have a culture of one, I think you were saying Ramananda is so true. The senior devotee does all the singing, does all the talking, does everything, and no one else participates. we ask you to don't do that. Keep it complete. If we are Sadhu Sanga, and we're not acharya and pleb. We're Prabhupada's the acharya, we come together and we just keep it interactive, keep us involved, keep everyone involved. Yeah. Break it down, always fairly between you. Everyone okay with that? So we have one last one.
That is the last one.
Is that the last one?
No, you see, isn't it?
Okay, there's no one. Okay, so that's the last one. And it's now 4:30. So we've ended really well.
Yeah. Does anyone have any last sort of questions about anything?
Or comments, or
Yeah.
anything else. Or if you want a discussion, what you call it, sample, if you want to experiment with it, anything that you think will be helpful for you now.
So everything is online. We can find all
Yeah.
Everything's
this
online.
improving stuff.
And you can always contact us if you need help,
Yes.
and we'll be happy.
The web page is on this.
Thank you. Can I have my friend if it's okay?
The web page is on this.
What were the 4 questions we started with?
Yes. The 4 questions we started with. What is Sadhu Sanga?
Discussions of devotees.
But who are you trying to associate with? Whose Sangha are you trying to get? Not Prabhupada. What does the Shastra say? The topmost devotee who has an established relationship with Krishna. That's the Sadhu we're trying to get the Sangha with.
And we wanted to just stress that we're not in any way suggesting that no one else is a topmost sadhu. But Srila Prabhupada certainly is, and you know, he wanted us to associate with him through his books. Obviously, he spent so much time writing them and leaving them as a legacy, not just so they gather dust on the shelf. And we know that we gave those quotes, and I've got some more sheets of those. If any of you didn't get in the beginning, the initial quotes that we gave from Prabhupada, I've got a few here. You can take one. And we know that among those was one where he said there's no difference between the personal form of the Guru and his instructions. So we can directly associate with the topmost devotee by associating with his instructions. And our whole point here is how to actually associate with those instructions. Because we may think we're doing that, we may be reading his books, and it may be going in one ear and out the other ear, or going in one ear, and then going through all kinds of filters in our head. And we're sort of changing it, and based on our own worldview, our own attachments. So this is a process that we found helped overcome all of these obstacles and problems. It engages us with the subject matter so that we're actually associating with Srila Prabhupada and getting the full benefit of the topmost devotee, Vibhutanadhikari. There may be others that you want to associate with, but our advice is put this into your day as one big rock. You remember that analogy? My wife was just talking to you about that. Putting the rocks in the jar and then the sand and then the pebbles in the sand and the water. Put this rock in first and just see what difference it makes. And Prabhupada said, just see how the life changes.
It's completely in line with GBC as well.
Yeah.
We're saying that we've got a little quote on this bookmark, a little quote from the GBC Foundation document, Srila Prabhupada founded Charity ISKCON. This is a quote taken from that document. By taking full shelter of Srila Prabhupada as Shiksha Guru in his Vani manifestation, all teachers in ISKCON will be able to authentically convey Srila Prabhupada's real teaching. So we're meant to be taking full shelter of Srila Prabhupada's Vani manifestation. It's completely in line with GBC. We're not being renegades or rebels here.
So may I ask, because we were discussing Bhagavad Gita with my husband, and we started Gita again, and one at the beginning it said in Gita Mahatmya, one should read very scrutinizingly Bhagavad Gita. It says in Gita Mahatmya with with the help of a person who is a devotee of Krishna. So does it mean that if we read Bhagavad Gita, I mean Srila Prabhupada's books, scrutinizingly, that's the association of the devotee who can we take that he is who is the devotee of Krishna? Yeah, we don't need anyone else. We basically can completely fully depend on Srila Prabhupada's purports and his association and his purports. That was our understanding, but I just wanted to double check if our understanding was right.
That it says that Prabhupada stated in the 1.1, he's stated that we should understand Bhagavad Gita in the association of devotee with the help of a devotee, without personally motivated interpretations, etc. So study it scrutinizingly, and you're saying, is that Srila Prabhupada? Does that mean that by we fulfill that requirement by associating with Srila Prabhupada through his purports and teachings?
Yes, thank you. You said it so much better than I did. Thank you.
Well, and so, what's your light on that?
You're saying, is that a correct understanding?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that the correct understanding?
What
is my life? Well, our conclusion was that yes. But we weren't sure if we needed someone else to guide us through his purports, or
from any of the evidences you've heard over the course of the last 4 weeks, do you have any evidence that would help you to either confirm your understanding or to negate your understanding?
Yeah, that is how we understand it as well, but yes. And that's why Prabhupada wrote those purports, to give us that guidance. And he would make the point that the Bhagavad Gita has a purpose to create devotees unto the Sarvadharma Pritya Jamani Kamsharana, the conclusion. And prior to his Gita being presented, no one was becoming devotee of Krishna, although there were 50 or more versions of the Gita available. But then when his was produced and published, so many people began to give their lives to Krishna. So it works. His association.
I'd also like to say, Kṛṣṇa, don't look at us as if we're going to give you the definitive understanding, because we're conditioned souls. We're just following what Prabhupada says. We're trying to understand, and you're trying to understand. And so that would be my understanding too, but because it's my understanding, don't think, oh, therefore it's definitive. I was understanding that way, and my evidence, frankly, understanding that way, is Prabhupada says, by discussing my books, we're associated with him. And I showed some of those evidences. And he said, if you discuss them, you'll easily understand. So the way I understand it, it's definitely Prabhupada, and if I don't have a discussion partner, and there are quotes like this, where Prabhupada says, there's one verse, one purport where it talks, where Swajati comes up in it. He says, generally, devotees associate together to discuss sastra, these sacred literatures. But if they don't have such association, then they do it alone. So if I'm only alone, then Prabhupada's association for me is enough to fulfill that. If I'm lucky enough to have a spouse or a friend who I can do it with, then I have another devotee to help me too. So it doesn't have to stop with Prabhupada, it can extend to another devotee. And my evidences would be that Prabhupada says, now I want all my devotees to become practiced in discussing these books and seeing it from different lights of vision. Remember we shared that quote with you? He led it to Tribhuvana. So we can only tell our, we cited evidence, but it's not because we understand it in a way, it's conclusive. Each of us is given God-given intelligence. You have a human life, you have God-given intelligence. Your intelligence is adequate to try and understand. And especially if you can support your evidence with any kind of evidence. But you don't have to look to someone else to confirm. You may look to someone else for another light, but it doesn't negate your light. Unless you begin to think my light is the right. This is the point I make. Trust your intelligence. God has given you this intelligence. This intelligence is given to you to try to understand these shastras. And all you have to do is try. Sense or nonsense?
Yes, so what I understood was that you confirmed that this is Srila Prabhupada is the right association.
That's her understanding.
That's our understanding.
Someone else will have a different understanding, and that's okay. I'm saying don't use this as a, whatever they understand must be the only understanding. If that's your understanding, that's okay. Use your grounding. I don't know if I'm talking loads of, I mean, it seems to make sense in my own head. Am I making sense to everybody?
Yes, I feel that.
Could you reflect on that?
You're saying that we should carry on doing this, and in the case of reflecting to you both, as you said, you found such a great thing from it, and it's following the process, but still, you said you were conditioned souls as well, and so you're still finding things through with it, and we should carry on. Sorry, I can't. It's in there, but it's not coming out.
No, it's coming out. Trust your intelligence.
Yeah.
As long as you're doing your best to understand without materially motivated interpretation, you don't have to always look to us for confirmation. You can look to us for our light, but our light is just that, our light. And Prabhupada's told us, discuss from different lights, different perspectives. That's the reason why we're giving you our light. The Prabhupada said, practice seeing it from different perspectives. But that doesn't negate your perspective. Even if you and I had a different perspective, it doesn't negate yours. Trust your intelligence. God has given you this intelligence for this.
Yeah. So what you're saying actually that we all do have the human intelligence, and we are capable of actually understanding ourselves as long as we try hard, our best effort, and try not to be personally motivated. If these two things in place, we should be assured that Krishna will help us to understand Prabhupada and his purport. And obviously, people like yourselves and other Vaishnavas, they might be differently advanced in their position, but still it's not that they have the conclusive truth. The conclusive truth is it's in many lights.
Yes.
So we can ask for different lights so we can get more wider understanding. But we should trust also that we have the capacity to understand.
Yes, thank you. Yes, very, very well. Perfectly.
Martha, do you?
Yeah, this is maybe different. I have one doubt, basically. If I really do want to study systematically and scrutinizing the Srila Prabhupada books, at the same time I want to every single morning listen to Prabhupada lecture, and Prabhupada is always using the Shastra. He's using verse from Bhagavad Gita, but everything is connecting the different understanding of the way of the Shastra, but include the Shastra, but not outside the Shastra, if that makes sense. Then him is every word is a poem, and then how I be able to actually apply this knowledge from the class is because I'm already will study that systematically and scrutinizingly Bhagavad Gita with someone, but then so much information from the class, how I be able to apply it or understood in the right way.
You're saying you're doing discussions every day with Andrews, right? But and also you like to listen to you're wondering how you can apply these principles to that, like you're hearing. So how can you understand, assimilate what Prabhupada's saying in his lectures in the same kind of way that we do in our discussions?
Yeah, it's because that information is going to be really a lot. Thank you so much, you understood me very well. So
there's a lot of information Prabhupada's giving, so much sastra and knowledge, and how can we assimilate that?
Thank you, yeah, thank you. It's really great. Yeah.
And do you have a light?
I have a light. My light is when my mentor, we should stay there, says me once between selfish and selflessness, be sensitive. And I try to this principle apply in my life every single day, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. And sensitive is basically if I'm already studying him books, he will give me the intelligence to understand him class because I try to be sensitive to the knowledge, try to be sincere and open to the knowledge. And then the particular knowledge will be entered to my intelligence and will be applied. What is not already to understood, this comes later. But he's the able thing to appreciate my endeavor to serve him.
So you're saying by doing the discussions of sensitive, you said between selfishness and selflessness is sensitivity. And so you are trying to be sensitive to Prabhupada in the discussions, to understand him, to assimilate. And by doing that, you feel that it will reflect into the hearing that you do. Prabhupada will help you understand the points he's making, to assimilate the points he's making in his lectures.
At least the points that you need to hear, and the points you don't, you may be able to understand that later, but the Prabhupada will help you to catch the points that you need to hear from his lectures. Is that what you meant? Because you said something about some of it you may not be ready yet, and that will help you later for that. But you're becoming more sensitive to being receptive to Prabhupada. When you say sensitive, that means you're becoming more receptive to hearing the instruction appropriate for you. Is that what you meant by sensitive? More receptive?
Yeah, it's just because in situation you are reflect both. That's why I say thank you so much, Kṛṣṇa Dharma Prabhu. You absolutely understood the essence of my meaning, and thank you so much, Chintamani, that you clarified the last point about intelligence and reflection, that some part of the knowledge will be revealed in the future. Yeah, thank you so much. This is wonderful preparation.
Prabhupada lectures, I listen to them as well, a lot, and I find like you hear bits and you don't hear other bits because often you're doing something else at the same time. So the beauty of this discussion is we're giving dedicated time to Prabhupada, so we get more out of it. But I found also with lectures, if you give dedicated time, if you sit down and really just focus on it and not do anything else, then you can get more out of it like that, And also, you can listen to it and take notes and, try to retain it like that. There are different things you can do, but we find the most effective way to really connect with Prabhupada is the discussion, because then you engage with those words, because even when you're hearing the lecture, the points are made quite quickly, and it's difficult to always understand what he means, but if you sit down and discuss it, because also when we do our discussions, we often bring in evidences from his classes as well, things like that. And when you're with someone else, it really helps you to go deeply into it and understand it more deeply. So what I'm really saying is I think discussions are the most powerful way to assimilate. Although the lectures are also really, really nice,
So, I reflect on your light. because I understood that this was light. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that what I
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
It says that this basically as your principle, your method, how you're doing, you try to take up most of the discussion and the listening Srila Prabhupada lecture. And you said that just that if you have really time, then you can sit down and really focusing on that, what this Prabhupada meant, and try to really understand him, because in every sentence from the book or lecture there's going to be nectar. And then you suggest me just maybe just like have a notes. You just like to write down and then have a discussion later as you're doing together. But you find that again in reflection that the most powerful is the discussion, because within the discussion is comes everything what is Prabhupada tried to say.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Did they reflect well?
Yeah, you did it. Yeah, thank you.
Perfectly.
Yeah, we'll give you a perfect one.
People often say, oh, I can't find evidences, I didn't know the books well enough. We'll do it honestly, listen to Prabhupada's lectures. I think I said this once before, sometimes we have questions in our morning discussion and we try researching, but we just don't know the answer. That Prabhupada will do the kitchen, the cleaning or the cooking, and half listening, half not listening, and then suddenly there's a bit of the lecture that comes through, and I think, oh my gosh, Prabhupada just answered my question. And then we have database, and write down the exact words he says. You've got to write them down immediately. And you go to your database, look it up, and then you go to your evidence that answers your question from the discussion. So just by having Prabhupada on, I mean, for me, I'm not very advanced, and I don't listen very well. My mind's all over the place. The only time I'm listening focused is in a discussion. But otherwise, my mind's all over the place. But occasionally something will come through. I was like, oh, I heard that. Write it down. You've got your evidence. It's a really good way of getting evidence. It's just have Prabhupada available to you. Go ahead if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Unless someone else would like to try.
Anyone else want to get involved? I was doing a lot of practicing on reflective hearing. Anyone else want to practice some reflective listening? Sana?
So you're explaining that when you have a question, sometimes you can be reading or looking through database everywhere, but sometimes you'll just be hearing a class and Srila Prabhupada will give you the answer to your question, and a useful technique is to remember his exact words, put it into database, and then you can allow it to sink in deeper, and to make sure, like, one of the tips was, when you have a paradigm shift, make sure you don't lose that and you take it in, reflect over it. So I can see you applying that principle by going into database. It's not that you just had it, it's like, oh yeah, no, my question's answered. It's like, oh, let me go to database and read it properly.
Yes.
That's what I do.
And then you've got your evidence.
Yeah.
Without evidence, our lights are, that's what I think, but I'm not 100% sure. For me, because Prabhupada, in my view, is the topmost devotee, Prabhupada's words for me are final evidence. They're conclusive truth. Once you have evidence, you can say, now, I feel I've really understood that. That is conclusive. I've got the evidence. I'm very aware that we have actually given you the content that we want to share with you. And I'm also really aware it's a hot, long day for most of you. So if you want to stop and you said everything you want, if there's any of you would like to stay, there's things you want to clarify more with us, by all means do. If you want us to stay in contact with you, please give us your details today, otherwise we lose contact. But if you do wish to go, we can offer our obeisances to each other now, and anyone who wants to continue speaking to us, you're very welcome. We can hang around a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So, should we offer our obeisances, and then if you're tired and you need to go, please accept my obeisances. Thank you so much for giving the last 4 weekends, at least the Saturdays, to letting us share this with you. And I really hope it has made a difference in your life. I hope you'll all become happy, safe, protected, And when you feel happy, safe and protected, you'll share it with other devotees. In your own way, however you feel you can.
Chaitanya Krishna Prabhu Ki Jai.